Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing one of the leviathans of the late 90s to late 2000s. This is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Chronograph, reference 25721ST. Not the most common of models. It features a full bracelet, something rarely seen on the Offshore, as well as a fascinating early dial design, and inside one of the heritage calibers based on a Dubois de Praz module and a Jaeger-LeCoultre movement. So an unusual combination, but with an iconic stance on the wrist. Now, you're used to seeing it on a strap. The bracelet does add mass as well as span. The watch is 42 millimeters in diameter on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It's not thick, as the JLC calibers were thinner and the resulting watch is slimmer. The watch is only 14.2 millimeters thick, which isn't terribly girthy at all, but across the wrist it does spread its wings. 53.8 millimeters lug-to-lug, and if you were to include the rigid plots, you can see I can't squeeze the bracelet down any more than this. You measure that side to side with those double plot end links, and it's going to be 58 millimeters across the wrist. While I can recommend this watch on a strap for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference, I would say 16 is probably the lower limit to wear the watch on the bracelet. You will need to remove quite a few links. If your wrist is my size, it's going to fit. Any smaller, it's going to be touch and go. I recommend you buy the bracelet as an accessory, keep it in the box, and put it on a strap. Now, the timepiece does feature that bracelet, which, as I mentioned, is atypical for an Offshore. You generally see them on straps, and laterally, you tend to see them on the hornback alligator strap. This watch on a full bracelet is an interesting hybrid of Emmanuel Guett's 1993 Royal Oak Offshore design with the full integration of case, lug, and bracelet pioneered in Gerald Genta's 1972 Royal Oak. And you do get more hand finishing. You get more value when you buy it on the bracelet, as the bracelet continues the lines of the case, giving it a highly integrated, all-of-a-piece Genta-inspired look with the same degree of metal finish that you get on the standard Royal Oak. Look at that hairline bevel aligned across the links. I feel the smooth sweep. I just feel a smooth, continuous surface. I can't feel the step down from link to link. That's how perfect the tolerances are executed. You can see that the individual links feature a little bit of a channeling between them so that it's more flexible, and on the underside, even bigger channels to avoid pinching skin or pulling your wrist hair. The removable links are fixed by screws. Note the attention to detail. Rather than a longitudinal satin finish on the flanks, you have a vertical satin finish. A few features on this watch that you would not have had on an original 25721 during the 90s. On the bracelet, you can see one of the distinctions, the ceramic pin snaps, a spring-loaded ceramic pin snap. That's an innovation that came later, designed to maintain the tolerances of the bracelet over time. Originally, that would have just been a metal nub. It's a double fold system, and it's actually quite comfortable on the wrist. Close it and lock it. There is a lift lock system with a clamshell to keep this secure when closed. Again, we're talking an early generation of clasp before the triggers came online. The integration of case and bracelet is beautiful, as you would have seen on any conventional Royal Oak and rarely witnessed on an Offshore. The bracelet is held on by screws, which is how it should be done on a big, heavy, and expensive sports watch. Whereas the bezel gasket is a minor styling feature of a standard Royal Oak, it's fully expressed as a macro element and an integral component of the visual structure on the Offshore. It helps to break up the vertical mass of metal. The lines of bezel and case back perfectly aligned, a sharp break between the rounded and polished flank of the octagonal bezel and the satin finished hood. You can see the hexagonal bezel bolts. It is an Offshore, so they are rendered in steel. And then on the crown side, you can see the crown guards themselves with a surprisingly nuanced fastening. Look at that hairline bevel that runs all the way to the crown. And then the individual pushers feature nitrile covers. There's a nitrile cover for the shoulder of the crown, and note it's in a hexagonal form that matches the bolts on the bezel. It's blue. These are navy blue nitrile covers. So there's a surprising amount of color on this watch with a sort of key lime on the dial. There will be a lume shot. It will be superb. There's a tachymeter scale, so you can measure the speed of something over a closed course, such as a standing kilometer, and then it slopes down to a dial base with a silvered mega tapisserie hobnail, applique white gold Arabic numerals with superluminova white gold hands at center, sub-registers are countersunk with a sort of anthracite gray finish, and then you can see there is a Cyclops magnifier, but it's in the dial itself. It doesn't mar the crystal as you'll have on a Rolex. And you can see, because it is a modular chronograph with the pushers higher than the plane of the crown, the base movement is actually below the chronograph module, which is why the date is sunken so deep. When you see that flush, fake Royal Oak. Not here. This one is a beautiful G series, so it's from the late 2000s, and it is just perfectly executed and fresh from AP factory service. So I'm not going to remove this sticker. That'll be the privilege of the eventual owner. But look at the detailing with that polished flank to the case back. Everything about this watch is self-consciously styled and beautifully so. Underneath the case back, caliber 2326 with a 2840 DD module. The base caliber is Jaeger-LeCoultre. Dubois de Praz makes the vertical clutch chronograph module. 38-hour power reserve unidirectional automatic winding with ceramic rotor bearing, screw down crown, 100 meters water resistant, quick set date, hacking seconds, and adjusted in 5 positions. It's also graced by a soft iron inner cage, as these JLC powered offshores featured a anti-magnetic cage because it could be fit to the inside of the case with the thinner JLC movement. All of that, and it features a tough free sprung balance using the auto tractor features that were introduced in the early 2000s and later spread to JLC base calibers, including those used by Audemars Piguet. There's also a laser welded hairspring for stability against shock-based displacement. You can see this watch and you can make it yours on the watch box. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore. Whenever you see key lime colored Luminova, you know you're in for a light show. A fireworks festival for your wrist. This is the 25721 in stainless steel.